What's going on, everybody? Thanks for checking out the Among the Ashes podcast this week. We're your hosts, Wes and Chris. Before we jump into tonight's episode, we want to take just a minute and say thank you to each and every one of you guys that's been following along on the journey so far. It really does mean a lot to Chris and I. If you guys are checking us out on YouTube, if you don't mind, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, leave us a comment. We do want to hear from you guys and get some feedback on the show. But when you're done there, we ask that you jump over to one of these platforms as well. Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, or Audible, and hit the follow button there. That is true podcast platform. You don't get the video, but you do get the audio, and you can download an episode for whenever you don't have a chance to sit in front of a computer and watch us. It'll give you an opportunity for you guys to listen along. Also, if you don't mind, share it with your friends. Let everybody you know tune into the Among the Ashes podcast every Thursday, 9 a.m. Also, if you would like to be a part of the show or you have a show idea, shoot us an email at amongtheashes@yahoo.com, or you can shoot us a direct message on Facebook, TikTok, or Instagram, all searchable by Among the Ashes podcast. So with all that being said, let's jump into tonight's episode. We're bringing back Marcus Chapman this week. Marcus was on last week's episode, One More Inch, and he discussed the men's conference that he put on in his church back in October. What Marcus didn't realize is that not only was God speaking to him about men's ministry, but God has also been speaking to me about men's ministry and what I need to do as far as this podcast goes and how I need to use it to help men, not just men, but especially men, grow and find a place that they feel comfortable sharing just the things that they're going through. We know that men have been under attack the last few years on the internet, in the media, frankly, everywhere. And we believe that that's because we as men dropped the ball all the way back at the start of man in the Garden of Eden. If Adam had just stepped up to the plate and done what God had told him to do, maybe there would never have been any kind of fall. Whenever God came looking at the time that happened, he didn't ask for Eve, he asked for Adam, because it was ultimately Adam's responsibility as the man or as the leader to take control of that situation. So our plans and our goals are to help men become the husbands, fathers, friends, community leaders that the people around us need us to be. We're going to discuss what does it mean to be a man. We're going to discuss what does it mean to be a godly man and how do we achieve that. So if you're a man and you're struggling and you're just having some difficulties in life and you don't really know where God wants you to go, or you're surrounded by loved ones who are of the male species, this is going to be a series for them, man. We really think that it's going to be something that can help jumpstart men to achieving the goals that God places on their hearts and to becoming the true leaders and loved ones that we need them to be. So with all that being said, go grab you a snack, grab you a drink, possibly a notebook, take some notes, and let's jump into tonight's episode, Men of Valor with Marcus Chapman. But in the last 6 weeks, I've come in and I've sat down at my table almost every day, not every day, but almost every day, and read my word. And I've prayed intentionally, going to work or coming home, one of the two, and intentionally prayed for people, not just myself and my wants. You know what I mean? Like when I began to read my Bible, it began to get me out of this poor, pitiful me mentality and woe is me and my world's falling apart and da-da-da. And I began to focus on the fruits of the Spirit and what that means to walk in the fruit of the Spirit. And ultimately, it just means effort. It just means putting in the work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We're so busy looking for the fruit that a lot of times, I know I need an apple. So instead of planting a tree and taking care of it and watering it and having apples for a lifetime, we run to Walmart and buy an apple. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I think that's what the Lord wants to see too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's where faith without works. It's not talking about the things that you
not
do.
Not that He won't give it to you, and not that He won't trust you, not that you don't, not that He don't want to answer you.
Well, again, I can run to Walmart and get the apple.
Have you put any effort?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. When you cultivate it,
and what you're answer for what you're wanting.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? What you're seeking me for.
Well, and when you cultivate it and you take care of it, you appreciate it more. Mm-hmm. So when you stop looking for the fruit, when you know the fruit's coming and you stop looking for it and you're just putting in the work, you're watering it every day, you're pruning it, you're doing the things you're supposed to be doing. In other words, you're reading, you're praying, you're talking to God, you're building a foundation, a relationship with Him. All your problems begin to disappear. So in the last week, I've had all these things happen and I've been like, could be worse. Normally, I would be falling apart, right? I mean, guys, y'all know me.
Yeah. Well,
Normally, I would be beside myself.
When you're working like that, you don't notice it.
Yeah.
But you look up and it's God's answered what you've been seeking Him for.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, when
you've been doing the work.
Yeah, when Wes texted me and he was like, it's not that bad. I'm like, you okay? You feel all right? Like,
who
are you got a fever?
Hey, I wrecked my truck.
I wrecked my truck and broke the
good?
screen.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I wasn't mad or angry or upset. It was like, God, I know you got this. You know what I mean? Like, even in the whole wreck situation, the way it happened, it was weird. Like, and it could still, and it could go sideways. I don't know. But I know God's going to take care of it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
And it's been so smooth, it's almost scary.
Yeah.
Like, why is everything going so smooth?
I get that.
And
but
you're waiting for the hammer to,
Yeah.
But ultimately.
And why do we do that?
I don't know.
We do that? Why do we do that?
Well, here's the deal. If I wasn't in my word and I wasn't praying and I wasn't doing what God was telling me to do and it was going smooth, it probably would go sideways.
Yeah.
But the fact that I'm doing what He's wanting me to do, He's rewarding.
Yeah.
Not saying that God doesn't always reward, He does. Sure. But here's the thing. Jehovah Jireh, when God told Abraham that is a principle. We are Abraham's seed. No, we're not Jewish, but we are grafted in through salvation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So at that point, anything He told Abraham, we can apply to our lives because we are His children. You are not God's child unless you're saved. And I hate that term, but unless you've accepted Christ, and I think it's in James or John, I can't remember, but it tells you are not God's child if you have not accepted Jesus.
Yep.
So at the point that you accept Jesus, every promise God has ever made is applicable to you.
Yep.
It applies to you. So Jehovah Jireh, I'm your provider, is Him telling Abraham, I will always provide. And He will. 100%. He will always provide for you. It may not be great abundance like these crazy preachers out here now that's everything. God doesn't want you to be poor and da-da-da. Look, here's the deal. God never promised us we would be rich.
Right.
God only promised He would provide. Mm-hmm. But in provision, we have to look for it. Just like the Israelites in the desert. God said, I'll provide manna every single day. But you've got to bend down and pick it up.
Yep.
You've got to put in the work.
Yep.
You've got to put in the effort. And that's what I'm talking about. It's not going to church and doing things for people. And in your relationship, it's not coming home and cleaning the house and expecting a reward. Putting in the work means if I never get rewarded for this, it's okay because I'm joyful about it. I'm happy to do it.
Yep.
It brings me pleasure to see other people enjoy the fruits of my labor, and that's the thing. And I think it gets lost in translation with people that we think we're so busy looking for God's hand that we miss the blessing.
Yep.
We're so busy waiting on Him to set the blessing down that we don't see what He's already blessed us with.
Microwave generation.
100%,
But, you're talking about the apple analogy earlier. And I mean, think about this. You go to Walmart today, get strawberries. Tomorrow they're molded, right? But if you grew your own strawberries, how much longer would they last?
Sure.
Yep.
That's my point. We've got to get away from that. So, and I guess to summarize all this, my thinking, and Marcus and Chris, you chime in, my thinking on this is, number one, we've got to start it in our homes. Mm-hmm. It's got to start with us three. We have to...
I would say this. We have to accept it for ourselves first.
Yes.
You know what I mean? We got to take ownership and responsibility for ourselves and get, be on the same page with the Lord. Is this what you want? This is what, Lord, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I want my life, my relationship, my family, my marriage. Do a work in this. And it's got to start. You got to make the conscious decision to make that choice that that's what I want to do.
Yep. Well, it may not be you coming in and sitting down at the head of your table and reading there and praying there, but there's an altar in your house. For me, that's what God told me. It's the head of your table. If you're the head of your house, and when we eat dinner, that's where I sit. Yeah. So, I would challenge all men, anybody who's listening to this, if you're struggling with a place to read and pray, just go there. Mm-hmm. It's symbolic. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's an altar. It can be an altar where you can just talk to God. And I know whenever I first started doing it, like Candace cooked dinner, and a lot of times we eat at the bar and not at our table. And so I went in and I fixed my plate, and I walked in there, and she's like, "You're not eating with us?" And I was like, "I can't. Y'all can come in here with me, but I'm going to sit where God told me to sit, and I'm going to read. And if y'all don't join me, that's fine. Y'all have a good time. But if you want to, come on, And that's the thing is it's uncomfortable. You know, praying with your wife or praying for your wife is uncomfortable. Praying with your kids or for your kids is uncomfortable. I don't know why it is. It shouldn't be
uncomfortable. It's just unfamiliar.
It's unfamiliar. There you go.
You know
that's
what I mean?
that's
you haven't got. You haven't got used to that, which we should. That's crazy that we don't feel that.
Yep.
But I think our pride gets in the way a lot of times on that, and we can't humble ourselves to do it.
Yeah.
You know, we have this rough and tough mentality that we're supposed to never cry. We're never supposed to do anything.
Ingrained in us.
Yeah, we're not supposed to do anything. And so it's like, how am I supposed to, first off, cook for the family?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not supposed to do that because I'm a guy. I'm not supposed to do laundry. That's a woman's job. You know, I'm not supposed to pray with the kids. She's got them. She'll kiss them goodnight, read them a story, and we're going to bed. You know, that's where we got to humble ourselves and say, you know what? Maybe there's not a man job and a woman job.
Sure.
It's a us job.
It's a job.
You know?
It's us.
And as far as men and women, we should be. Women want to know that we're vulnerable. You know what I mean? They want to see the softer side of us, not always just a hard butt, you know what I mean, all the time. God's the same way. You know what I mean? How many times have we let our hard heart not let God in? Not let God touch us when he wants to.
Oh, that's
you know
good.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Just because of us.
Just
we've got to have
we're in the way.
You know, we've got to have the hard shell up all the time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That's the thing. Like so we've got to get past. I'm not saying like don't pray for your wife in your prayer time. That's the start. But you've got to start praying for your wife and with your wife. You know, and eventually what's going to happen is she's going to start praying with and for you. It will be uncomfortable, but we've got to start that if we're not doing it already. We've got to set aside a time, family time, to sit down. If it's 10 minutes to read one chapter a night or a week, even once a week, you know what I'm saying? Because ultimately, if my wife and kids don't make it to heaven and I do, I have failed. I have failed. And honestly, God may not let me in.
Yeah.
You know? So I think it's got to start in us individually.
And I also want to say to the guys out there, pray small. Start small. You don't have to go into thee, thou, thou 30-minute prayer. Like, just start something small.
Be personal, dude.
Yeah.
Well, that's the key.
I think that's so. We just think about being a Christian and just being saved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's enough.
Yeah.
And it is, you know what I mean? The Lord wants a relationship with you. Being a Christian to me is more about having a relationship to God. You know what I mean? And I get emotional like when the Spirit comes on me, dude. I can't help but cry like a big baby just because I know how much the Lord loves me. You know what I mean?
got to see
how much He's done for me, dude.
So we're the same way. Me and Elise talk about it all the time. And but I saw baptism service the other day, last Sunday, and it hit me so hard. From the first person that got in that pool to the last, I'm pretty sure I cried the whole time. You know, and I'm like, you know, but then again, I'm a man. I'm not supposed to. But man, that fired me up so much seeing that. God, like I'm getting teary eyed right now just talking about it.
I know it. I was the same way at the men's conference. I couldn't get through it.
I bet you were. I bet you
get through it, dude.
But they were like, look at Marcus, that crybaby. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I can't help it. I'll straight up tell you
but that's the thing, man. That's key right there. You know, we don't. So think about your relationship with Jesus like your marriage, or your dating relationship with your female. When you first start dating somebody or you first get married, man, you're so in love. Like you just want to be around each other. You want to talk to one another. You want to touch one another. Everything you want to do involves one another. Well, it's the same way with God. The Bible tells us, I think it's in Genesis, when a man gets married, the man and woman leave their families and they cleave to one another. They become one flesh.
Right.
So if they become one flesh, then they operate together, not independently.
Right.
Well, it's the same thing with your relationship with God. We are the bride of Christ, right?
Yep.
We are Jesus's bride. So if we are Jesus's bride, we have to leave everything behind and cleave to Him. We have to want to know Him. And I know it sounds weird because we're hetero men and we're talking about another man. It's not a physical intimacy, but it is an intimacy that you have to have with Jesus.
Absolutely.
You know, it talks about John laying his head on Jesus's chest. When I get to heaven, I want Jesus to tap John on the head and say, "Hey, man, you got to get up because that's Wesley's spot."
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like I want more than just walking
comfort.
into the gates. You know what I mean? And when we have that relationship with Him, it brings that comfort and that peace in times of trials and when we need them. You know, so you know it's got to start in your relationship with God. You've got to build your relationship with God. And look, it happens fast. It happens so fast. When I got saved, like. You know, you got to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can run. You got to mumble before you can talk, things like that. But I went from being so shy and backwards. Like, I mean, Marcus can tell you the night we met Candace, we went to a party at her house, and I leaned over to Marcus. I said, I'm gonna hook up with her. I'm gonna ask her out. And Marcus said, not if I do first. Well, I always just sat back because Marcus was good looking. He was a ladies' man, and he talked to women. I didn't. Well, I looked over and Candace talked to me. So that's how shy and backwards I was. I wasn't afraid to talk to girls. I just was not going to talk to them first. But when I got saved, I went from being shy and backwards, not knowing what to do, into preaching within a year.
Blessed him with a gift of gab.
Yeah, I can't shut up now, right? I mean, that's the thing. Like, I can't shut up
some
now.
people get patient. Some people get, nope, not Wes.
I got the gift of talking,
It's
you know.
funny that you say it happens quick like that. I think about Kyle. You know what? Kyle is old enough. I mean, he's a young man, you know, and he decided he wanted to start going to church with Mom at Dora. And Matt used to play the drums, and he'd text me a picture from the drum cage. Man, you ought to see Kyle, you know. Well, I mean, just a couple of months.
It's minimal effort, man.
Like visiting on Sunday nights, just how much God's changed him and just how much fire he has. It's unreal. You know what I mean? He's preaching. He's preaching.
He's
dude.
preaching, and he's preaching solidly.
And it,
you know,
and it was seriously like within a year. Really, that was within about 6 months.
Yeah, probably sooner than that. But you
know, that I knew about it. You know, it's all about what you put into it. It's all about the effort that you put into it. How much do you want from God?
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There's levels of it. And He'll give you as much as you want.
As much as you want.
You know what I mean?
And that's the thing. Stop seeking His hand and start seeking His face.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I want to know you.
All we get to where it's God give me, God give me, God give me. Lord, I need this. God, I need this. God, I need this. What are you doing for that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Lord, I want to have discernment. I want to be able to speak in tongues. Have you sought Him out? Have you done your work for that? Have you sought the Holy Spirit for it? You know,
and that's
we can have all those things. It's what we put into it.
It's a
you know
gift,
what I mean?
but you know,
It goes
you
back
have
to like we were talking about a marriage 50-50.
Yeah.
No, it's 100 and 100. You know what I mean? Give 100% to God.
like, yeah. But I guarantee you, God's giving you 100%.
Absolutely. I don't
You know,
know
there's
if
no.
you've seen the Martin Houston at their men's conference.
Yeah.
One of his things was he's got a book out, and it's Give Me Another Inch. And his illustration was put your hands up.
Yeah.
Everybody put their hands up. He said, you got them all the way up? It's like, yeah, we got them all the way up. He said, now give me another inch. Well, you can give them another inch.
So you didn't have them all the way up.
So it's like, what can God do with one more inch?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What does God do when you give Him more effort? One more inch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's kind of like that
Are you
in
really-
Facing the Giants when
Yeah,
he
are
gets
you
on
re-
his back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you really trying?
Yeah. Yeah.
well, and that's the thing. It's maximum effort, but it's really minimal effort. You will gain maximum result with Jesus.
Ooh,
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
that's a good title.
In his mind, even in your mind, you may be doing the bare minimum. All I'm doing is reading a verse a day or a chapter a day. begrudgingly.
and so-
I've got to do
That's
this,
enough for some
but that's
people,
okay.
you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
that's
And
okay.
You can get by with it, but it's so much deeper.
Well,
If
and
you
what's going to
wanna
happen
give-
is you're reading that verse a day for 2 or 3 days. The next thing you know, you're reading 3 or 4 verses a day, a chapter a day, a book a day, the whole Bible in a year. You know what I mean?
and all that time God's revealing stuff
Yep.
to you in there.
You're going from, well, God bless mom and dad, to, well, dad's going through this and this is what dad needs, and God, not only do I want you to heal him and I need you to heal him, but I want him to see your glory. I want him to experience you in fullness, and you know what I mean? It's going to go so much deeper. The more effort you put into it, you got to start somewhere. That's the key, is just starting, you know, and build that relationship with Jesus. So,
And your mind will change completely about everything.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
your the way you think on things is going to change. Like anything and everything. Like, you know, growing up, I was big on technology, all the new fad things.
love technology.
Yeah, just like Napoleon Dynamite. But like now, I can't stand Facebook. Like I can't stand social media.
Yeah.
And like for me to say that is way backwards. Like that is crazy.
I can't believe you aren't doing Space Cow videos anymore.
No, I'm not. But you know,
Folks, y'all missed out.
it was so good.
The Space Cow videos were amazing. Ahead of its time. But yeah, I mean that's key, man, is putting that effort. And what'll happen is when you're putting in that effort with God, you'll start putting that into your relationship with your wife.
That's
you
right.
know. And again, I'm not talking about making your wife a lazy bones and dependent on you. I'm talking about you giving her something to want to serve. You know what I mean? You giving her somebody that she's proud to serve.
Yep.
You giving her somebody that she wants to brag about. Well, let me tell you about my husband, you know? And then what that does is that shows your daughters what they should expect in a husband.
Yep.
And it shows your sons how to treat their wives, you know? And so in just spitballing on where we need to go with this and what we need to start with, obviously we need to start in our own personal lives. But then I'm willing to open up my home once a month, once a week. I don't care. And I know everybody's time schedules and things like that. It's a little crazy. I'm in a small group right now on Sundays and church and work and things like that. But being willing to sit down with 3 or 4 men, you know, and duplicate, replicate, you know, take it to your church, do the same thing. And what I would eventually like to see is a room full of Dilworth, a room full of High Point, a room full of whatever church, a room full of whatever church. And then it's, okay, well, Dilworth and High Point's teaming up. High Point pray for Dilworth this week. Dilworth pray for High Point. Stay in communication. Find 2 people or one-on-one, or make a group chat, whatever, and you guys do this for one another, you know. And I know we're talking a lot tonight about just in our homes and in our church, but it's got to be making disciples of other men. You know, I'm seeing foot washing. I'm seeing maybe we just watch a football game. You know what I mean? It's community. It's being together, young and old alike. And then, you know, if it grew to the conference level, great. You know what I mean? One church hosts it once a year and everybody goes, you know, but either way, that's what I'm seeing. And I know we're kind of all over the place and probably won't air any of this, but, like, how do we do it? Because I know the things I've posted on Facebook, very few things, but talking about this, I've had men say, yeah, when you do something, let me know. When you figure it out, let me know. Yeah. Because I think there's men out there that are hungry, you know?
Absolutely.
And we have,
I think a lot of men want to do something. They just don't
know how to do it or what to do.
You know what I mean? Like the older
they're lost.
Like our dads or whatever, their age group, they want to do something because they know what it's like, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I don't want to have missed opportunity. You know what I mean? Like,
as far as like our men's ministry or the men's conference, when we did that, I loved it. Great time of year to do it, where it wasn't just so blazing hot and stuff. It kind of bums me out because there were so many people, Wesley, fired up for that after that, just the results of it, you know what I mean? The remnants of it. it's like I couldn't do anything else after that because the church had so much stuff. You know, you had Thanksgiving and all that stuff.
Well, that's the
and
thing. Like one time a year is
everything
not enough.
everything come up so suddenly. It was
Yeah.
like I couldn't do anything else after that. You
So
know
your
what I mean?
annual
It's
men's
like,
conference happens in October, but then we're doing men's stuff the rest of the year.
Yeah.
We are. You know, we've got to. Because life will get in the way. 100%. I guess Chris had tiny bladder syndrome. Life will get in the way. And you know, it may be the High Point crew meets here, the Dilworth crew meets at your house, you know. But at some point we join together.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like it's got to be more than just me doing it at my church, you doing it at your church. It's got to come together
it would
too.
mean a lot for High Point to see Dora is on or Dilworth. We're on the same page.
Yeah.
We're doing, but they're seeing it out of somebody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And realizing that it's working. What they're doing is the same thing they're doing, and it's working. But you know, to see it working in somebody else's life. You know.
Well,
what I
when
mean?
we meet with High Point, or High Point comes to Dilworth. High Point comes to Dilworth and serves Dilworth.
Yeah.
The Dilworth men just sit back and see.
Sure.
And when Dilworth comes to High Point, then the Dilworth men serve and do what they need to do at High Point, and the High Point men sit and see. You know what I mean? That way, I know that sounds backwards, but we're not taking care of our own church. We're taking care of another church.
Yeah.
You know? Yes, we're the guests and things like that, but like if there's food and whatever else, then whoever the host church is has to do nothing. The other men come in and do it, you know, and show that servanthood. But I would like to see. I think it starts right here. Well, it starts individually, but as far as getting men involved, it starts right here. We start it with the podcast. And then we open up some sort of small group setting and just kind of replicate there, get them turned on to the podcast, and then just start going. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would also, I mean, speak to you out there, but as far as us three, just be in prayer and fasting about what direction He really wants us to do.
Yeah.
Is this the step that He wants us to take? Which I know we've got to start it in our own, you know, but what direction He wants us to do. And just His guidance on it. You know what I mean? If we do what we want to do, it's gonna fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But let the Lord give us direction and what He wants us to do.
What's the one thing you wouldn't want to do?
Diddy stuff.
Because that's probably what He's wanting us to do. Then you know what I mean?
No, I'm not into Diddy stuff and baby old Chris. Sorry.
It's preach.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. So get ready. You're going.
But what's crazy is like He's already given me messages, dude.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I mean, I didn't want to work with children's ministry. Yeah. Like I was like, no, look, because I always thought I was like, all right, they're gonna view me as that weird guy, you know, hanging out with the kids and stuff.
I'm so scared to death of preaching, man, just because of the implications. It's like if I get into Marcus, I've got to answer for that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So if it's not ever from the Holy Spirit. You know, that scares me to death.
Maybe just I
think I think that I can say confidently in my 10 years of youth ministry and 20 plus years of sharing the gospel preaching, I've never done what I wanted to do. Does that make sense?
I agree.
Because that's the mentality I had, Marcus. I'm not saying that I never said anything that wasn't Wesley. Sure. You know what I'm saying? But like I always say, God, what do you want? You know, because it ain't about me. Yeah. Now I made it about me. You know, I get in the car and, hey, how was that message? You know, there's only one person in the altar. Was it good? Well, is one not enough? You know what I'm saying? Like I did do that, but when it came nut cutting time and I was stepping up to that pulpit, I was going to say what God told me to say.
Yeah.
You know, I was not going to say something that you know, I'm not going to get up there and tell you, well, your hat's on backwards and you're wrong for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not, that's not what's going to happen. I'm going to tell you the truth. You know, I'm not going to tell you my opinion. Just because you live a different lifestyle than I live doesn't mean you're wrong, doesn't mean I'm right. Yeah. I'm going to tell you what God's telling me to tell you, and you can bet I can confidently say that when I get to heaven, the Lord will say, yeah, you said everything I wanted you to say. Mm-hmm. You never got in the way as far as delivering my message. Now, I got in the way of a lot of other things, but but that's the right mentality to have is, God, I don't want to say anything, because here's the thing. If I die and go to hell, that's bad enough. Mm-hmm. But I don't want somebody else to go there because of something I said or did.
Well, see, and that goes back to like you were talking about earlier about the women, not being educated. Well, they didn't want them doing false teaching. Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah, and that's what it was down to. And Paul, it was even that way about men that hadn't been taught and educated right shouldn't do it. And that's the same thing today. And we see this, so have y'all seen the video floating around of the guy saying that there's so many beards in society right now that it's distracting and that's not apostolic. There's no room for that in the kingdom and da-da-da. And it's like, bro, look, first of all, let me tell you something. There's no apostles today. 100%. And the reason I say that, well, I can't say 100% because God's capable of doing anything. But think about the role of an apostle in the lives that they live. If you are a true apostle today, you don't have it easy. You're not in your air-conditioned building screaming at people and telling them how to change their life. Chances are you're standing on a street corner somewhere getting stones thrown at you, or you're in prison, or you're getting beat up, or you're about to be killed for your faith. Mm-hmm. There may be some apostles over in communist China. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There ain't none in America.
Right.
So stop saying you're an apostle. Stop it. Do you want that responsibility? I don't. I'm happy being a preacher or a teacher. I don't need the responsibility of being an apostle. You know what I'm saying? Because that's responsibility. Mm-hmm. That is life-altering responsibility there. Not just yours, but the people that you're claiming to be apostolic over.
Right.
So, we live in a generation now of wealth, health, wealth, and prosperity. And, have y'all seen Catherine Crick? I think
I've heard. Yeah, I think you told me about her
female
last time.
Apostle.
Yeah.
First of all, there's no female apostles. There's none. There was none in the Bible. There's none today. And ladies, I hate to tell you this. That's not a jab at you, okay? It's just not. There's not. There's no. If Mary and Martha and Priscilla, those people were not apostles, you're not one today. Okay. Why? I don't know, other than the fact that God knew that those people were going to end up in prison. They were going to end up beaten and brutalized and killed. You know what I mean? The closest thing to a female apostle would have been Mary Magdalene. Those women. So get that out of your head, Catherine Crick. Not saying God can't use you and God's not going to use you or God isn't using you. In my opinion, but you need to get that dude in Africa that has called you and labeled you. You need to tell him to kick rocks because he's going to send you to hell 100% because all he cares about is money. So
does he donate $5 sweat rags?
No, but he takes a helicopter in and then jumps in a Land Rover and then walks a red carpet wearing a king in a robe because he says he's Jesus incarnate because he's going to deliver the gospel. Anyway, y'all should look up Catherine Crick and then look up the guy she calls Daddy. Yeah, but there's so much of that. I mean, you can get into Kenneth Copeland. You can get into the Louisiana guy. What's his name? He's real funny.
You lost me when you said Louisiana.
Either way, I can't remember his name right now. He's got the largest house in Louisiana, and God gave it to him. I'm not saying God doesn't do those things, okay? But if you're getting rich off the backs of people, something's wrong. If you're selling the gospel, something's wrong. I'm not saying you shouldn't be paid to preach. I'm not saying that you can't be paid to preach. I'm not saying it can't be your full-time job. I'm not saying you can't be an evangelist and go around and make money and things like that. But when you tell somebody I'm not coming unless you pay me $10,000, there's a problem. There's a problem.
To share the word.
To share the gospel. There's an issue. If you want me to come motivationally speak and I do throw Jesus in there, great. That's different. But to come and share the gospel and get rich and then say, well, God wants me to have a plane. No, bro, something's wrong. Something's wrong. If you want to write your books, that's fine. I don't care. Make millions off those. I don't care. That's fine. But when you have a church and it's so ornate and so beautiful, and you're making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and you got people sleeping in the cars in your parking lot, there's a problem. If you're that blessed to have the largest house in Louisiana, there should be nobody in your church whose power ever gets cut off. There should be nobody in your church who's ever hungry. There should be nobody in your church that ever has to worry about paying their car payment, whether they're a good steward or not. You know why? Because if God gave you that to make you wealthy, then he also expects you to distribute it among the people. And that's the mentality where I'm trying to get rid of. You know what I mean? Like, we've got to get real men who want to serve Jesus and do the right things and not get rich off the backs of other people, and not take advantage of other people that don't want men to serve them. Look, I don't need nobody carrying my Bible. You know what I'm saying? Like, that has bothered me for 20 years. Like, oh, I'm serving the man of God. I'm toting his Bible in. Why, bro? He should be serving you. You know, like, if he's the man of God, he should be serving you. Yes, it's a great thing that you want to do that. And that is fine if y'all working out an agreement. But when he expects you to do it, you're his armor bearer? No. Come on, bro.
Hey, next podcast we do, I'm bringing your Bible in for you.
Right. I hope you do. All right. So I feel like we kind of laid some groundwork. Y'all feel good? Mm-hmm. Like, I want us to.
I almost thought this would make a good episode.
Oh, well, yeah. Honest. I mean, it probably will, some parts of it. But or maybe all of it. But I got you. I want to.
But we really need to have like one topic every time.
That's what I was fixing to say. I want to pick a topic and start at.
Talking about the other day. So we probably need to sit down. I mean, we can do it on here, or
we can even text now. We got a group chat now.
Yeah, probably just need to. Let's seek God on it, first of all.
But, where do we want to start?
But we can, I think we need, like, topics.
How to seek God would be a good one.
So, how to seek God,
well, and that's what I've got written right here.
The other day, it was like, how to be a godly man.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Yeah. What are some steps to be a godly man?
Well, we could break the steps down into
or
episodes.
Whatever, you know what I mean? Those steps being the episode.
Well, so
a top, that topic being.
And that's some of the things I wrote down right here. Start your relationship.
All that together.
Sorry, I talked too much.
What we want to do, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and
do we want to do that topic, how to be, or what it takes to be, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do think
and nail down 5 topics or how many ever topics there are under that heading, you know what I mean? And let's pray about it and study on those topics and bring
I think we should definitely do like a research on what is considered a man and then what's considered a godly man and look at the differences. Yeah. That would be some stuff to discuss. What does it mean to be a hunter biblically? Not just go out and kill a deer and bring in the food. Like, what does it actually mean? Because I'm sure there's a deeper biblical explanation for that than what we think there is.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's a scripture that talks about going and getting your bow and your quiver, and so I wrote down: start your relationship with God, build your relationship with your wife, kids, and family, build your relationship with your church, duplicate and disciple. Mm-hmm. So I think that you start there, build your relationship with God. Well, how do you do that? And then, what is a man and what does it mean to be a godly man? Mm-hmm. That falls under building your relationship with God. You know what I mean? So 100%, I think that's the way we should go. I feel like that's what God's saying.
So is start somewhere. This. You bring a topic, I'll bring a topic, you bring a topic, but it's all under that same heading.
Yeah. We can do that.
We would just want to make a list and focus on
well,
that.
And at some point I'd like to go into topics as far as
God's
like
going to speak to us different.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
but I think it'd be good too to go into like the issues we face. Like porn is a big issue. That would be something we could later on down the road talk about that, or addiction. Just different things that we deal with.
Speaking of porn, they're outlawing it in Alabama.
Are they really?
Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, they did it in Texas.
Wow.
They did it in Texas.
Awesome.
You have to. Yeah, they outlawed Pornhub in Texas. I don't know if that's in Alabama yet, but I do know it's coming.
I think that's the one they did.
You have to. I don't know how it works, but
have Have to put an IP address. Hide
Somehow
everything.
you have to log in now
Yeah.
and all this stuff. Like you can't just open it up and see it. So that's a huge step.
That's awesome.
You know what I mean?
Well, there's actually a school in Texas trying to put the 10 Commandments back in.
Sweet.
Have you heard about that?
Texas will get it done, man, for sure.
Good
But yeah, I'm okay with each of us having a topic under the one heading, or if we each got a topic and we take 3 different episodes to cover one topic, I'm fine with that too. And it's all under that right here. And then here's the individual topics, a video for each topic, a 10, 15-minute video for each topic, whatever, Either way is fine with me.
Can we wear suits?
You can. I'm
just kidding.
I'm in a suit.
Bringing your Bible in, I got to wear a suit.
Yeah. So I brought my Bible in because I wanted y'all. So what is the one thing on the cross that Jesus said that sticks out to y'all?
It is finished.
Okay.
That's the only thing I know he said. I'm terrible.
Have y'all ever thought about him saying, my God, why have you forsaken me? Mm-hmm. You ever wondered why he said that?
No, but now I do.
He felt alone.
You think so?
I think he felt alone.
Possibly.
You know what I mean? God the Father couldn't look on the sin.
He was preaching from Psalms, chapter 22. On the cross, he was still preaching.
That's hard.
What you said is correct. He felt alone because when David wrote this psalm, he felt alone. He was preaching, but he was also fulfilling prophecy. So, Psalm 22, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me? And from the words of my groaning. So let me start over because I can't read. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from helping me? And from my words and far from my words and groanings. Oh my God, I cry in the daytime, but you do not hear, and in the night season, and in the night season, and am not silent.
Ain't helping him.
Yeah, they're not helping me.
That's why I laughed earlier.
It says, but you're holy enthroned in the praises of Israel. Father trusted in you. They trusted you and you delivered them. They cried to you and they were delivered. They trusted you and you were not ashamed. He said, but I am a worm and no man, a reproach of men and despised by the people. All those who see me ridicule me. They shoot me at the hip, they shoot out the lip. They shake their head and saying, he trusted in the Lord. Let him rescue him. Let him deliver him since he delights in him. In other words, they mocked him on the cross, right?
Yeah.
They mocked him on the cross. He says, but you are he who took me out of the womb. You made me trust while on the mother's breast. I was cast upon you from birth, my mother's womb. You have been my God. Be not far from me, for trouble is near, for there is no one to help. So in other words, God's been with him from the start with Mary. Many bulls have surrounded me. Strong bulls of Bashan have encircled me. They gape at me with their mouths like raging and roaring lions. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. Think of that. All my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within me. My strength is dried up like a potsherd, and my tongue clings to my jaws. You have brought me to dust, to the dust of death, for dogs have surrounded me. The congregation of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet. I can count all my bones. They look and stare at me. They divide my garments among them, and for my clothing they cast lots. But you, O Lord, do not be far from me, my strength. Hasten to help me. Deliver me from the sword. My eyes are full of water now. My precious life from the power of the dog. Save me from the lion's mouth and from the horns of the oxen. You have answered me. I will deliver you. I will declare your name to my brethren. In the midst of the assembly, I will praise you. You who fear me, you who fear the Lord, praise him. And the descendants of Jacob glorify him and fear him. all you offspring of Israel. For he has not despised nor abhorred the affliction or the afflicted, nor has he hidden his face from him. But when he cried to him, he heard. My praise shall be of you in the great assembly. I will pay my vows before those who fear him. The poor shall eat and be satisfied. Those who seek him will praise the Lord. Let your heart live forever. At the ends of the world shall remember and turn to the Lord, and all the families of the nations shall worship before you. For the kingdom is the Lord's. He rules over the nations. All the prosperous of the earth shall eat and worship. All those who go down to the dust shall bow before him, even he who cannot keep himself alive. A posterity shall serve him. It will be recounted of the Lord to the next generation. They will come out and declare his righteousness to the people who will be born, that he has done this. So in other words, Jesus is fulfilling prophecy, but he's also preaching in the moment of saying, hey, this is truth because it's already been said. So I don't know. I found that interesting. I've had this underlined for a long time, but I heard a guy talking about this the other day, and I was like, he's preaching. Like he's fulfilling prophecy right there. Mm-hmm. And
that's so heavy.
And I think the reason he did that, number one,
pierce my hands. I mean, come on.
Yeah, he was telling them David said this would happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he's telling them on the cross, David said this would happen, and then it did happen. Like, how can anybody deny that Christ existed and did what he did? David, I don't even know how many generations back David was from Jesus. You know what I mean?
I think it was like his second or third great grandfather.
I don't know. It was a bunch. You know what I mean? I mean, it was a couple hundred years easily. And here he is, not only preaching to the people from the cross, from death, but he's also telling them, hey, I am fulfilling prophecy from years ago now, which he had already been doing anyway, but he's telling them, I am doing it as I am dying.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the thing. Like, when I go back to apostles, like, how many of you were really willing to die for Jesus?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Think about how those men died. Peter was crucified, but wanted to be inverted. They only inverted him because he wanted to be inverted, because he didn't feel worthy to die like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen was stoned to death. I mean, John the Baptist was beheaded. There were several of them that was beheaded. Several of them was stoned to death. Several of them was crucified.
Almost all of them.
They were all martyred. The only apostle that didn't die was John. And John was boiled in oil beyond recognition and lived. And then they said, well, we can't kill him, obviously, so we're just going to put him on the island of Patmos, which literally means dry and barren. Mm-hmm. Nothing grows there. It's a island of stone and sand, and the only way he could have received food to live would be if somebody was bringing it to him. Mm-hmm. Well, the Romans aren't bringing it to him. You know what I mean? So maybe one of the other apostles or something like that brought it to him, but he literally is either not dead or died on that island, and they never found his body.